I'm Evelyn.
Standing in the grand gallery of what was once my in-laws' mansion, now a thriving art center named The Haven, I'm flooded with memories. The gallery is alive with the chatter of guests, the soft click of cameras, and the gentle hum of appreciation. The large painting at the center, a masterpiece I created through pain and perseverance, is the talk of the night. It all started on a fateful Thanksgiving dinner. I was sitting at the table, surrounded by my husband Victor's family. Victor's mother, Mrs. Thompson, a haughty and domineering woman in her 60s, had a reputation for being controlling. She came from an old, money family, and her husband, Mr. Thompson, was a silent but complicit figure in her schemes. As I reached for my wine glass, it slipped from my hand and shattered on the table. At the same time, an envelope was thrown in front of me. I felt a sharp pain in my palm from the broken glass, but the emotional pain was far worse. More than 20 pairs of eyes turned to me, filled with curiosity and a hint of satisfaction. "What's this?" I asked, my voice surprisingly calm despite the trembling in my hand. "Divorce papers." Victor's cold voice cut through the air. It was as if he was announcing something as mundane as running out of dessert. Before I could respond, Mrs. Thompson took a sip of her wine and set the glass down with an air of superiority. "We thought it would be more civilized to do this with the family present," she declared, each word like a command. I locked eyes with Victor's sister, Lily, a spoiled and malicious woman in her early 30s. She was smirking behind her wine glass, as if she'd been waiting for this moment for years. "You filed for divorce? On Thanksgiving?" I repeated, my words coming out slowly and painfully. "Mrs. Thompson continued, everyone here knows you were never a good fit for this family. Your little art studio is just an excuse to avoid real work." Lily chimed in with sarcasm. "Yeah, who can make a living from painting?" Even some of the cousins who I thought were neutral couldn't hold back their grins. I looked at Victor, hoping to see a glimmer of regret, but he avoided my gaze. But I had a secret. Beneath the table, my hand brushed against my purse. Inside was a deed to the house. On our 5th anniversary, Victor had been drunk and signed the house over to me. He didn't remember it the next day, but I did. I stood up slowly, blood dripping onto the tablecloth. "You're right. I don't fit in here. I'm above your standards." Victor looked up, his face flushed. I turned to my best friend, Maya, who had come with me. "Maya, can you take me to the hospital? My hand is bleeding." Then I looked at Mrs.
Thompson.
"You might want to wash that tablecloth soon. Blood stains, just like deed transfers." I left the table, ignoring the shouts and Victor's calls. I knew it was time to start my plan. Maya drove me to a small emergency clinic. The doctor stitched my hand, but I barely felt it. In my mind, I was no longer the meek wife of the Thompsons. I was Evelyn, a woman who was going to take control of her life. Back at Maya's apartment, I opened my phone and sent an email to my attorney, Mr. Harris. The subject was property at 123 Elm Street. "The time has come." The next morning, Mr. Harris arrived with a thick folder. "First, we file the ownership confirmation at the local office. Then we serve the Thompsons with a 30-day eviction notice," he said. That evening, I returned to the house. I rang the bell, not knocked, because I had every right to. Victor opened the door, stunned to see me. "It's not about yesterday. It's about the past 5 years," I said, holding out the eviction notice. Mrs. Thompson's face went pale when she realized the house was legally mine. I told them I didn't plan to kick them out immediately, but they needed to understand they couldn't push me around. That night, I revised my plan to turn the studio into an art gallery for rejected artworks. I named it The Haven. I had been secretly working with Professor Mitchell, an art restoration expert, for over a year. I called him, and he was excited about the project. The following week, the renovation started. I sent out a press release, and the response was overwhelming. An art magazine wanted an interview, a collector offered funding, and the prestigious National Art Conservation Institute invited me to collaborate. On the opening night of The Haven, the place was packed. Reporters, collectors, and curators filled the gallery. When I unveiled the central painting, a symbol of my reclamation, the room fell silent and then erupted in applause. Just then, the front door opened and Mrs. Thompson, Victor, and Lily entered. Mrs. Thompson accused me of disgracing the family legacy, but I calmly replied that I was just telling the truth through art. A curator from a major museum then announced they were considering my painting for an upcoming exhibit. Mrs. Thompson was speechless, and Lily lowered her head. A few days later, I learned that the Thompson family business was under investigation for financial misconduct. If I hadn't filed the ownership transfer in time, everything I built would have been at risk. Lily, who was pregnant and had been cut off by Victor, called me, asking for a place to stay. Remembering that no one should be defined by their past mistakes, I let her stay in the guest house. One spring morning, Mrs. Thompson came to the Haven with an old portrait of her mother. She apologized and asked to work here to make amends. I agreed, and in her eyes I saw newfound humanity. Now, as I look around the gallery, I know that the pain I endured has become the foundation of something beautiful. The Haven is not just an art center, it's a symbol of rebirth and forgiveness.